Cities are often known for their past. A famous man or family, sometimes a company or other institution. And once they are gone, the community often has difficulty moving on. One reason is that people don't always remember that a community is made up of the places they build. They forget that a community is made up of the things that people do. And most significantly, they forget that a community is made of all the people that live and work there. "100 years ago, Main Street was a place where turtle races were held. They also held potato races there, but we are still waiting for the first race to be finished and probably won't look to carry on this particular tradition. We show you these pictures so that we can prepare ourselves for making the future, and part of that process involves remembering the past. But as the Roman philosopher Cicero wrote, let us not go over the old ground, but rather prepare for what is to come. Since then, Grandview has had its ups and downs, but over the past 30 years, it has suffered like many first-tier suburbs. First-tier communities are those communities that have grown up over many years and immediately surround core cities such as Kansas City. You find first-tier communities in every state and around core communities of all size, from 50,000, such as the last community I worked, to 150,000, to core cities with 1 million or more people. First-tier suburbs share a set of common characteristics, often their population getting older as children grew up and moved, often to second and third-tier suburbs. Housing stock has been aging and out of date. Infrastructure that is also aging, although often complete, and often all aspects, retail, industry, as well as housing and infrastructure, need reinvestment. However, and this is an important point, aging does not mean useless or bad. And with changes in economy and even the way people think, there is a genuine push to take another look at urban core cities as well as first-tier cities. Taking advantage of complete infrastructure and extensive transportation systems is one of the trends in community development across the United States. Grandview was a place. As a relative newcomer to the area, I know this is a fact, because wherever I go, people tell me how they grew up in Grandview, went to stores in Grandview, and without exception tell me of the good memories they have of Grandview. But aging has been hard on Grandview, and what is clearly a natural process was accelerated by such disastrous occurrences as the closing of Richards-Gebaur Air Force Base and the development of the 71 highway corridor in a way that bisected and crippled Grandview almost beyond repair. Grandview is not the place that it once was. However, it can become a place again. But above all things, we need to understand that change takes time. The past few years have also been very difficult, and expecting a lot to happen is clearly not even reasonable. However, and this is a big however, despite the poor economy, we have made some big strides. We also must be aware that there are rules that you must follow, or at least remember. I don't always often read the points on slides. It is actually a violation of good PowerPoint protocol. But today I want to go over these rules for you, because I've seen them work in other communities I've worked in, and I know they work. First, the community is the expert. That means the people have the ideas and know what they want from the community. Next, you create a place, not a design. Plans are great, but the place has to be real, comfortable for people to live in. You need to look for partners, and there are all kinds of partners. Every commercial business, every homeowner, schools, community organizations, they all are potential partners. You can see a lot just by observing. Knowing where a community should be or where it should go can be accomplished best by just watching the people and seeing what they need and want and where they're going. You need to have a vision, something to guide where you're going. Without a vision, you just end up with a design. Start with the petunias, lighter, quicker, cheaper changes, and then work from there. Triangulate, keep things so that people can move between them. New developments that are widely separated don't foster community. Remember, they always say it can't be done, and these pessimists will be glad to try to stop any plan you have. But the fact is, it can be done, and we need to ignore these people and their pessimism. Form supports function. Again, you need a design that works for the people in the community so that they can live and it helps them in their daily lives. Money is not the issue, and it never really is. The real issue is how well you spend the money you have. No one ever has all the money they need to do everything they want. But if you use the money you have wisely, you can make great progress over time. And finally, you need to remember you are never finished. Communities change daily, by the hour. Your job is never done. You're always needing to change. But it's not enough to make one or two places. We already have more potential places than we know in our city. We must understand the power of 10. The idea is that it's not enough to have just one great place in a neighborhood. You need a number of them to create a truly lively city or town. It's not enough to have only one superior neighborhood in a city. You need to provide people all over town with close-to-home opportunities to take pleasure in public life. And it's not enough to have one livable city or town in a region. You need a collection of interesting communities. Everywhere we bring up this idea, citizens become more energized to turn the places around. The Power of 10 offers an easy framework that motivates residents and stakeholders to revitalize urban life. It shows that by starting efforts at the small scale, you can accomplish big things. The concept also provides people something tangible to strive for and helps them visualize what it takes to make their community great. We already have a start on 10 significant places. As you look at the list, I'm sure you're thinking, well, I see 8, but I'm not sure about the last 2. And the fact is that I agree. But I'm also here to tell you that over the next year, hopefully, we will all see things happening at Truman's Corners and at the I-49 and 150 highway interchange that will show 9 and 10 belong on our list. But in the meantime, what is most important is that we have some important places in Grandview, and if we don't all recognize and understand this, then we will never succeed. Let's briefly look at some of them right now. Have you been downtown or walked on Main Street? You should. We have one of the most distinctive city halls in the area. Do you appreciate how unlike it is in most communities? Our city hall brings both city government and our courts right out to the people. Have any of you spent time here? If not, why not? Do you come back at night after work and see what work we have already done? When was the last time you went to the View? Again, it is an outstanding facility comparable to any other communities. Have you been to our parks to see all the people who use and enjoy them? As a former parks director, I can tell you there's nothing sadder than to have a park that is not used. Have you seen the Splash Park? It is a place. or those who care about and don't want to forget our past. If you've been to the farm home, you know we have been working encouraging the National Park Service to make more of this site. Do you care? If not, why not? Did you stop by the farmer's market this summer? If you didn't, then you need to keep silent if it fails because there were not enough customers. But if you did you tell everyone about it? If not, why not? Places are all sizes and shapes, and as we'll see in a few minutes, simply building something does not mean you have a place. But often you need to start by building something, and often you start with transportation features. Redoing Main Street is one of those transportation features. But modern communities need more than streets and roads. Modern communities need sidewalks and trails, and more importantly, all of these streets and sidewalks and trails must connect places around a community so that people can move around between them. One technique that is used today embodies the concepts of complete streets. That is, making streets more than facilities that quickly move people. If we judge our transportation facilities on how wide they are and how quickly you can travel along them, then 150 highway and especially 71 highway, our brand new Interstate I-49, would put us at the top of the heap. Unfortunately, I-49 and the one-way frontage roads have been a disaster to Grandview. We are only now getting MoDOT to work with us to do something to repair the damage. For Grandview, we need streets that are not only allow people to circulate and come and go, we need streets that are comfortable to walk along and live along. We need to keep in mind the fact that while streets are important, they are only there to serve the community, and they should not become the identity of the community. We need to look to the future and remember our heritage. The features you see we are building are intended to be carried through the entire city as new development and redevelopments take place. We hope that through the use of distinctive theme pieces, we will make the territory of Grandview in a distinctive and positive way. As you drive or walk around the city, look for these theme pieces. Some we are only planning. Some you may pass without thinking about. Some may not come for 5 or 10 years, but we need to plan for now if they are truly to come. Planning is what this is all about. If we want a vibrant Grandview in the future, we need to have a vision, and then we need to plan on how we will get to that vision. Over the past year, we have been doing extensive planning and visioning for the 150 highway corridor, and we just obtained a grant so that we can do the same type of planning for the new I-49 corridor. I think it is important to note two things about this planning. First is that developers, bankers, retail owners of all sizes expect that communities do such planning, and if a community does not have updated and well thought out plans for the community, they consider it a weakness and probably will look elsewhere to spend their money. Secondly, I just mentioned that we have a grant to do our new I-49 study, and it is important for you all to know that it is a difficult, time-consuming task to get grants like this, but such grants allow us to go ahead with such critical work without taking money from other critical activities that the city needs to provide. Besides large-scale planning, we need to keep in mind that getting the private sector to spend money or develop or redevelop a grant is not a simple task. The competition among and between cities is fierce, and above all, we want to make sure that as a city, we do not end up paying for the miscalculations of the private sector. Redeveloping Truman Corners is not something the city simply says do and it gets going. It takes private business to say we will do it, and for the city to help them believe that Grandview is the right place for them to spend their money. Likewise, talking businessmen and bankers to spend their money, especially when economic times are bad, is more than difficult. It can be impossible, unless we can all show them that Grandview is the place to be. Proving that we are the place to be is done in a couple of ways. First is to show that we have a vision for the future, that we are planning for a new Grandview place. Then it means showing our commitment to our dreams by building. That is why we're doing our work on Main Street. Each of the boards that you see show part of the vision for future Grandview Place. If nothing else, before you go off today, take a quick look at the part of our vision for our place. Four years ago, Forbes magazine claimed that Grandview shared the distinction with 9 other communities of being one of America's fastest dying towns. I need to tell you that I know a number of the communities on that list, and Grandview does not share any characteristics with them. But it's not enough to say that. What we all need to do is make Forbes magazine eat those words. And the way to do that is not only to make Grandview a place, but a place made of many places, starting with 10, and then 20, and then 30, and then more and more. But we all need to believe. Miguel de Cervantes reminds us that the greatest foes, and whom we must chiefly combat, are within. The job can seem sometimes impossible, but if we remember that one of Cervantes' characters was not afraid to tilt with windmills, then making Forbes magazine eat their words is much less difficult a task. Instead of just getting angry, Grandview has done something about what Forbes magazine said. Finally, to close this part of our presentation, I want to tell you one of the visions I have, and that is while we may not be holding turtle or potato races at Main Street in the near future, we could if we wanted to, because we were turning Main Street back into a place, and it just might be that we should start having them again. And as we continue work on Main Street, we also build other places around the city. If you don't believe that can happen, then I think we should consider the next few slides. Finally, we want to leave you with one final thought, and that is, what are you doing to invest in Grandview's future?